Hello, this is RearAdmiralPants here to show you how to do some safe boosting from White Dwarf stars. So these are the four basic rules for boosting safely from any boostable star, whether it's White Dwarf, Neutron, whatever. You want to approach from 90 degrees from the jet. I'll demonstrate that in the video, but basically you're going to be flying towards the end of the jet and not flying into the end of the jet. You're going to approach relatively slowly between 0.1 and 0.3 C. Once you get into the jet and your ship starts saying that the FSD is being overcharged, you want to reduce to minimum velocity. And once it says it's overcharged, you want to increase to maximum velocity, at which point, since you are perpendicular to the jet, you will go right through it in no time. And at that point, you'll be free to redirect your ship and make your jump. So I will show that now in several examples. As I said, this technique can be used for neutron stars as well, but most of you probably already know how to do that in some safe fashion or another. But this one is probably the safest. I've seen some pretty dangerous techniques out there, and it's no wonder that a lot of commanders are afraid to use White Dwarfs for boosts. So I'm going to try to help those of you out today. So I'm just setting up a normal jump here to a White Dwarf system in the bubble in a fairly general Diamondback Explorer. The only engineering here is FSD range, so I'm not doing anything special with heat or stability or anything like that. So first thing you want to do while you're jumping is zero out your throttle. So the default key binding for that is X. I hit X 3, 4, 5 times while I'm here in witch space during the jump animation, just to make sure that I arrive in the White Dwarf system at minimum velocity. So you can see I've done that. I'm at 30 kilometers per second. And what you want to do as a beginner is you kind of want to look at where you've arrived relative to the White Dwarf and kind of pick the plasma stream that appears longest to you. That said, they are of equal length. You don't have to do that. I simply recommend that you do because it's easiest. But just to prove that you don't have to, in this first example, I'm not going to. I'm kind of trying to show you that the jets are of equal length for every star you encounter with jets, whether it's a neutron star or white dwarf star of any class, it doesn't matter. The jets are of equal length. It's difficult to kind of prove that in Super Cruise, and it would take forever. So eventually here I give up and I just point towards what appears to be the shorter jet, but it's actually just further away. Now what you want to do is head toward that jet. You, as a beginner, you want to keep your speed low. I would say below 0.2 C. You want to stay away from the exclusion zone and stay away from that core. So what you want to do is kind of get the jet to a point in your cockpit view area where you can just barely see blue wisps of it as you approach. I'm not quite there yet because I'm still quite far away, but as you get closer, minimize your throttle as much as you can. And what you want to do is enter those tiny blue faint wisps at the slowest possible velocity you can. And it will begin to say, okay, you are charging your FSD beyond safety limits. Let your ship roll. Let it go through the turbulence. This is fine. As soon as it says you're supercharged, maximum throttle, you'll go right through the jet. You're through it already, and you've got your boost. You can jump to the next system at your leisure. I would recommend getting up to about, 2C before you kind of turn your ship around. I'll show you that in a bit, but it's very fast to get away from the White Dwarf after you've gotten your boost. So here I'm just doing the same thing to a different system, a different class of White Dwarf. Some of them are more difficult than others. I'm trying to demonstrate 4 different ones here in this video. But again, the principles are, during your jump, you want to minimize your velocity. So here is when you want to kind of hit X or use your HOTAS to minimize your velocity to the lowest possible point so that you come out of the jump as slow as you can. That yellow circle is the exclusion zone around the star. If you ever encounter a star where it seems like the jets are all within that yellow circle, you probably should adjust your brightness or gamma. There is no such star in the game. Every star has jets that proceed from that exclusion zone by some extent. Some of them are very tight, granted. You might gain some heat doing this, but most of the stars you'll have absolutely no problem doing what I just described. So again, as soon as I hit these wispy jets, I'm going to slow down again, hitting that X key. Right now I'm not even at 0.1C as I approach the little wisps, and you'll see that very soon I get the overcharging warning, and I let my ship roll. It's just fine, and you will be charged for boost in very little time if you've done this correctly. And once you are, again, max throttle. Since you're perpendicular to the jet, you're going to go right through it. It's not going to damage your ship to any major extent, and you're already through it. Again, once you're at 2C, you're more than far enough away from the star to kind of back your throttle down and aim toward whatever system you're hoping to boost toward. As you can see, I turn around here just to show you the size of the White Dwarf just by hitting 2C for a few seconds. Obviously, no danger. So here's just another class. I'm doing the same thing. Again, the points here, you want to be 90 degrees to the jets. You want to approach slowly. When you enter the jet, you want to be at minimum velocity, and the moment you are at boost capacity, you want to hit maximum velocity. So again, I'm jumping here. I hit minimum velocity several times. I'm kind of from the Horizon days where sometimes it would miss a little bit of input, so I kind of hit the key 4 or 5 times while I'm jumping. Again, you see that yellow circle, that's the exclusion zone. You never want to end up within that. One clue that you're in that is during that turbulence phase, you might get rotated to the point where you're pointing towards the core of the star. That's a sign that you've entered the plasma a little bit too deep when it's too blue. In that case, you want to try and get out, hit a heat sink, and start over. Again, you want to hit it at 90 degrees, just barely wisps. Again, I am close to that yellow sphere, but I'm not going to hit it. I let my ship roll. It's going to get the boost. No problem. You might even get this warning 7 or 8 times, especially in a heavier ship. If you get through the jet and you still haven't gotten the boost, that's a sign that you've gotten the opposite way and you've entered it in the more faint region. Again, in that case, no problem. Just start over, try again, and you'll get the boost the next time. What I do try to show at the end here is that with each of these boosted jumps, you will damage your FSD slightly. So if you're planning a lot of them, it's a good idea to bring along a repair unit just to keep it in top shape. And here's the 4th example. I'm going to jump to yet another class of White Dwarf. And if any of the viewers out there have a class of White Dwarf or a system that they think is particularly difficult or impossible, I'm happy to take it on. It's possible to do this technique actually without shields. The lighter the ship, the easier it's going to be. The heavier the ship and the higher the level of FSD, the more time it's going to take in the plasma stream. So just keep that in mind. But again, I minimize my velocity coming into the system. I'm going into the wispiest, kind of most transparent area of the plasma jet. I'm slowing down as soon as I see that message. I don't care that my ship is rotating. I don't care about the turbulence. My computer can yell at me all day long about beyond safety limits. I've got the boost, I maximize velocity. Since I'm perpendicular to the jet, I go right through it and I'm free to continue my journey. So I hope this helps. I'll review the 4 tips again, and clear skies. Best wishes, everybody.